Individual science fiction stories may seem as trivial as ever to the blinder critics and philosophers of today, but the core of science fiction, its essence, has become crucial to our salvation if we are to be saved at all. Isaac Asimov. Soviet Union, 1920, where Isaac Asimov was born. He quickly moved to correct the situation and immigrated to New York when he was 3 years old. Teaching himself how to read before first grade, Asimov soon discovered, stacked on the magazine racks of his father's candy store, a blossoming genre of which he would one day become a distinguished pioneer: science fiction. Science fiction emerged as a defined literary genre in the early 1920s, as authors such as Hugo Gernsback, of which the Hugo Award is named after, began publishing pulp magazines such as Amazing Stories and Astounding Science Fiction. Asimov was quick to create a unique stylistic approach to his science fiction stories. Although made famous by his writings on robots and artificial intelligence, there was another aspect of Asimov that arguably was more important, for it directly pertained to our society: his philosophy as a humanist. Humanism, a broad ethical philosophy in which the dignity of the individual is valued and trusted to morally determine right and wrong through rational thinking, was a concept Asimov was passionate about. He once said, "No sensible decision can be made any longer without taking into account not only the world as it is, but the world as it will be." However, Asimov's work was not read without criticism. In 1980, science fiction scholar James Gunn wrote of him,
"Virtually all plot develops in conversation with very little, if any, action, nor is there a great deal of local color or description of any kind. Dialogue is, at best, functional, and the style is, at best, transparent. Almost all of Asimov's fiction play themselves on a relatively bare stage."
Literary critics such as Cowart and Weimer have long lamented Asimov's plain stylistic devices, and cited it as a reason why criticism on his work has been sparse. In Dictionary of Literary Biography, they wrote,
"Asimov's works do not easily lend themselves to traditional literary criticism because he has the habit of centering his fiction on plot and clearly stating to his reader, in rather direct terms, what is happening and why it is happening. In fact, most of the dialogue in Asimov's story is devoted to such an exposition. Stories that clearly state what they mean in unambiguous language are the most difficult for a scholar to deal with because there is little to be interpreted."
Cowart and Weimer's analysis rang true with Asimov's philosophy as a writer. A self-proclaimed rationalist, a Democrat, a feminist, an agnostic Jew, writing during the nuclear turbulence of the Cold War, Asimov had no need for aesthetic fluff, and instead saw the value of science fiction as a means to create hypothetical, technologically advanced worlds in which natural human reactions could be analyzed, and whether a particular technology or discovery could develop or deteriorate our society. Paired with his humanist values, Asimov looked to his work as a way of predicting problems of the future and providing possible solutions to them. In regard to Horace Gold, the publisher of the magazine in which Asimov's work was frequently published, Asimov said,
"Horace Gold was interested more in the reaction to scientific advance than to the scientific advance itself, which made, in some cases, for more sophisticated stories. These were not Campbell-type stories. Once again, the center of interest had moved away from scientists themselves towards society. It wasn't back to the adventurous hero. It was towards society.
Perhaps himself influenced by Gould, Asimov's later works mainly focused on how each character reacted to a development or discovery, rather than the development or discovery itself. The most frequent personality types, hostile, greedy, and investigative, may have seemed to be negative traits of humanity, but Asimov maintained an infinitely optimistic view of the future in terms of human relationship with technology and society in general. Throughout his stories, Asimov portrayed a portion of his characters as hostile towards human development and discovery. These people had varying degrees of negative thoughts or actions that openly opposed a particular technology. Asimov often portrayed these characters as stubborn and untrustworthy, representing the negative traits of humanity, and they typically played the role of the antagonists in Asimov's stories. One stark example of hostile characters in Asimov's work can be found in the short story Belief, which appeared in the October 1953 issue of Astounding Science Fiction. Asimov writes of a small-time professor, Dr. Roger Toomey, whom through the use of the scientific method discovers the ability to levitate. He then attempts to present his discovery to Deering, a famous and influential scientist who snubs the protagonist because his discovery goes against all that is known of the laws of physics. Deering stays undeterred even after Roger demonstrates his ability to him.
"You aren't arranging this ridiculous foolery for nothing,"
says Deering.
"Are you trying to make me seem foolish? Or is it that you expect to see me into some crooked scheme? I want you to know it won't work. I'll advise you to tell the truth, and then get out of town."
Deering, hostile towards Toomey's discovery, attempts to stifle its scientific investigation out of a xenophobic fear, and in doing so halts the development of a potentially beneficial technology. Asimov was boldly progressive, and his liberal views were a possible reason for his creation of a conservative villain. Aligned with Deering's thoughts, many discoveries throughout history have been met with similar skepticism and controversy. Evolution, cloning, and even the roundness of the Earth. In the four-part story, It Is Coming, the character Bruce, who functions as the first-person narrator, but not the protagonist, is a distrustful programmer of the supercomputer Multivac. Multivac runs every technological aspect of their futuristic society and is capable of self-upgrade and improvement. And Bruce, rather than celebrate its brilliant artificial intelligence, sees it as a threat to human superiority over machines. Regarding the advancement of the supercomputer in general, Asimov has a clear stance towards its development. Proceed with caution. Asimov neither endorsed nor denounced Bruce's reaction towards Multivac. Instead, he looked at the concept in a rather rational way.
If we are completely computerized and completely robotized, what are the side effects? Will there be difficulties? Undoubtedly. Will there be things that we won't like? Undoubtedly. But we've got to think about it now, so as to be prepared for possible unpleasantness and try to guard against it before it's too late. We always have to do that. It's like in the old days when the automobile was invented. It would have been so much better if we had built our cities with the automobile in mind, instead of building cities for a pre-automobile age and finding we can hardly find any place to put the automobiles or to allow them to drive. This is the sort of thing that we must avoid in the future.
He argues that through preparation in the present, issues regarding computers in the future can be outright prevented, eliminating the need for a hostile reaction, like that of Bruce's,